So when you're taking us back to the 1940s, I mean 1942 to 1945 was Japanese occupation time. I mean, can you remember, what was going on?
Well, almost every evening I remember going with my father, along the river. He will bring his net, and then I will bring the bag, for the fish in case we got fish. And this is after, say, dinner, about 8 o'clock until about 11 p.m. And that's the normal existence in those days.
Wow, must have been tough.
Oh, very tough. That's why 3 of my siblings died when they were small.
And so there was going into the jungle and all that. Everybody was moving, right?
Well, during the Japanese time, when the Japanese were around, I remember seeing them. And then when the Allied forces, I think the Australian came and attacking the Japanese, they were also running from the Allied forces. And the kampong people, a lot of them lost their houses to the Japanese soldiers.
Oh, right.
So people like us, the owner of the houses, had to go and hide in the jungle, and life in the jungle was not pleasant either, and a lot of us died because of diseases and things like that, And occasionally, when the bombing started, we would rush and hide in a hole in the ground. And we found the Japanese soldiers already there before us.
Oh, really?
And they were quite, those soldiers that I met, quite pleasant. And they will look at us and say, no, sama-sama ASEAN.
Right. I can imagine, because when I hear you talking about this, I think of my father and my mom, and they would talk about Japanese occupation their time in Kuala Lumpur. And my dad was an engineer, and they would all gather outside the power station, and they had to sing the Japanese song, Miyoto Okai no Sora Kate, And when translated into English or Malay or Bahasa Malaysia means look east to the horizon.
Okay.
And sure enough, 20 years later, Tun Dr. Mahathir comes in and says look east. It's as if, premonition of what was going to happen. But it was tough time, and my mom used to tell us that when they heard the sirens, like what you said, they would dive into the trenches in Batu Road. And we forget what they have gone through, and that's why later on we will talk about what it is to be a Malaysian. Many of us have been programmed to think that we are Malaysians, patriotic. And today when we are taught otherwise, and there's a crisis of identity, I think it hurts some of us who have gone through so much. But thank you for that, and what a journey, what a history of where you have come from. And today you're 85 years old, and you continue to live to tell the story. And I think many Sabahans and many Malaysians need to know of what the the founders of this country went through, especially the state of Sabah. Talking about Japanese occupation, Tan Sri, 1946, Sabah became a British colony. And it was then called the Crown Colony of North Borneo at that time. And between 1946 and 1956, 10 years, the political maneuverings that were going on in this region must have been intense. Because I've always said this in Tan Sri, mirrors don't lie, and shadows never leave you. And because we have this common, colonial power of the British between Sarawak and Sabah, we often think, and when we hear Sabah Sarawak, as if both have got a similar history, but they're totally two different countries. And when I think of what happened in those 10 years, you think of the template of the British, how they maneuvered from 1707 till 1880 or so, about England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, all coming together on what's called the Acts of Union. So I think during that time, this must have been a plan that was going on in the minds of the British to bring this whole region together, because they were all colonies now under their control.
Hi everyone, this is Dr. Charles Lee. Before this episode starts, I have a small favor to ask from you. Many visit and watch the videos, and they find it very informative, they get excited. Some of them write to me on my email, but they don't subscribe. So would you do me a small favor? Would you just press that subscribe button? It'll be so good for all of us. Certainly it helps the channel grow. It adds a little bit of vitality to the channel. At the same time, the numbers get bigger, and my heart gets bigger too. So just to know that you're with me, you enjoy the company, and I enjoy your company, you won't believe it. So please subscribe, press that button. I want to hear those bells jingle, and most of all, stay tuned, and I love your company. We'll talk again.